Jingle, jingle, jangle, jangle.
Welcome to High Vibes HQ, real talk on health, wealth, relationships, and creating a freedom lifestyle. On today's episode, we are diving deep into the myth around work-life balance and changing it into an integration and living freely, just the way you want to. Get comfy, get your notepad and pen out, let's dive in. There's a huge myth around the concept of work-life balance. And there really isn't any balance. The scales are higher or lower, very rarely meeting in the middle, or dare I say, never. And with this, I really want to get the mindset and the perspective across of an integration, a mix, a blend, however you like to say it. Because it's not a this or that mentality. It is a circle, it is an integration that continuously goes around. And that's how we evolve, that's how we learn and grow as well. And the growth mindset, the champion mindset, is where we really want to be at for success, for happiness, for freedom, for that sense of balance. So it really is about the feelings that we want to evoke and the ways of being that we want to be. Joyful, playful, connecting to our inner child, whatever that may be for you. And I highly recommend that whatever comes up for you, when it's safe to do so if you're driving, just keep it in your mind and write it down. These are all clues to what you truly want to manifest, your true, deeper desires. So with that being said, thinking of an integrated life and having everything flow together, I want you to take your hats off, so to speak. Not having a work hat and a life hat, maybe a mum hat, a cleaner hat, whatever hats you may have given to yourself, and the stories and beliefs, the thoughts and feelings that come with those hats, let's say. Leaving that to the side, having it all together really brings so much peace and harmony, which is what balance is usually said to be. When I've asked people, okay, what do you mean by balance? Work-life balance. You want more life and living rather than the work aspect. That's why many of us work 4 days a week. You know, we're not living for that weekend. We really are integrating everything into our lives. And when I say this or that mindset, I'm putting my right hand out and my left hand out, because this right here is a this or that. It's a mentality, which can really cause procrastination, anxiety, and stagnation. That can be a huge block because it's as if we feel that we must sacrifice and compromise to get what we want in life. And I'm here to tell you that it really isn't true. It doesn't get to be like that. And I say get like that rather than have to be like that. There's no musts. And there's definitely no guilt, blame, or shame with any of these decisions that you make towards this integrated life. It really is beautiful once you start to experience this and to live in a certain way. It's incredible. So with this or that mentality and that feeling of sacrifice, you know, to have a great life, to have a great business, I must sacrifice X, Y, and Z. What comes up for you when you scan your life? What comes up for you in areas or in terms of feeling like you've been holding back because of this? And in NLP, this is one of the most transformational tools and processes that I use, a technique called parts integration, which brings the parts within us that may be deep within us in our subconscious together to create that circle. And as I bring my hands round and I have this circle, it all comes back to gratitude as well and building those solid foundations. Because just like we get to give a breath, we also get to take a breath. So this is where we are open for the abundance that is for us. Okay, so in terms of that, I'm going to repeat it in a different way. When you are open to receive that abundance, it isn't that you're taking or taking away from others. You are actually collaborating, you're sharing, you are building, which is filling your own glass till it overflows with whatever you want that to be. That joy, pride, happiness, boldness, confidence, courageousness, all those amazing ways of being. Now, when you have this or that mentality and that lack of balance, maybe a lack of clarity or direction, it can stir a lot of things up within us in our nervous system, and our nervous system is really listening to us, which can cause all kinds of illnesses, all kinds of despair. And that's where we also can start to compare and despair, and we compare ourselves to others and their stories, their situations, their circumstances, and therefore the outcome that we really truly desire may not happen as fast as we want, or it may not happen at all because we have stopped it, we've prevented ourselves. So with all of this being said, I'd love you to pause and write down some notes. What insights are coming up for you? What takeaways? Any aha moments or popcorn moments that have coming up? And just write them down. Become aware. Have that acknowledgement. Great. So sacrifice, especially for entrepreneurs. We want that freedom. For me, for myself, I remember really early on in the game, I was doing so many trainings, every kind of training. I said yes to everything. And the aim of the game for me is to have freedom, which means and looks and feels like happiness, connection with my family. Whereas actually, when I stopped and looked around me and listened to the feedback, was that my family really were missing me because I was constantly busy. I was working so many hours. I was running myself down to burnout, and I just wasn't taking the time for myself or others. And I remember my mum saying, if you've got time, only if you've got time, as if they weren't a priority or that it was an inconvenience. You know, they didn't want to get in touch with me because I was working, or I didn't get invites like I used to for places because they knew I'd be busy. Now, the thing is, especially with someone like me, and you may be similar, is I'm always doing something. I'm always up to no good. I'm very creative, and I love to exercise my brain. I love to expand and be creative in many, many ways. So unless you ask me to go somewhere, to carve time out, there was a time where I just wouldn't put it forward. And when I realized and I got that feedback of you are not present, I realized that things get to change, because this work-life balance that I was aiming for was just not happening, because what I wanted, time with family and things, was just totally opposite. And I know this is relatable to a lot of people. And when I facilitate vision boarding, for example, this is one of the main aspects in this, is people, especially entrepreneurs, have asked me, oh, well, can I not do a personal vision board and a professional one? And my resounding answer is no. I highly recommend you do a both and. And that's the aim of the game. And this is where especially visionaries and those creative people, those future forward focused people, ambitious, want it all, really aiming for the stars kind of people, they just have this huge shift, because now everything is on one board. Everything has its own special place, its own focus, its own priority. So everything you value and prioritize gets to be on here. Now, going back to the hats that I mentioned before, I noticed, especially when I was in higher leadership and management, that many people were different at work. When they put their said work hat on, they were very, very different to the fun-loving person they were when they were out. And out at the pub, out in the street, just out of work in general. And I'm sure you've probably come across someone like this, and it can feel really unauthentic and also unfair to the team, because to be a leader doesn't mean that you have to be stern, mean, firm, unfair, all the rest. I won't go into too much detail there. You'll get the gist. And that is where the personal and the professional vision board, in particular, your compelling vision, comes in. It's a both and. It's that circle, both and, that goes round and round and round. So what do you want for your compelling vision? The thing that gets you out of bed in the morning, the passion, the butterflies in your belly because you're excited yet you're nervous, the one thing or the vision that makes you scared to come out of your comfort zone, yet you're willing to expand, not contract and pause, yet you are growing. And with that, with all of this that's come up, I want you to just take note. It all starts very, very simple. When we strip it back to the foundation of what you truly want, it's noticing where you get to change, and you empower yourself that you get to make different choices for a better life. So what non-negotiables, so the things that are important to you, especially daily, are you wanting to commit to? Personal and professional, both and. See, the visionaries, those people I was explaining about and describing of being ambitious, we are problem solvers. We know that life is happening for us rather than to us or against us, and we are taking risks. Maybe not even calculated risks, sometimes just risks, because if in doubt, be bold. I'll repeat that. You could say it out loud too. If in doubt, be bold. And being brave or being courageous is a step before confidence, because confidence tends to come from evidence, from results. Yet to get those results, being bold and courageous, brave, whatever it is, ways of being, all comes from you making a choice, a decision for the life you truly want. So what non-negotiable, 3 or 5 maximum, are you putting in place from now on? So great sentence, up until now, you may have been doing X, Y, and Z. From now on, you are willing and committed to doing these certain things. For Steph and I, it was very important when we first got together that we spoke about our non-negotiables and integrated both our ideas into our lives. And one of the key things is that we do not work on our birthdays. Nope, we do not work on our birthdays. And now as well, we do not work on Christmas Eve, Christmas Eve, Boxing Day, Christmas Day, New Year's Day. And that is really important to us because it has a deeper meaning, and what we give meaning to is important to us. And it's usually linked to our core values, those things that are really important to us. So what do you want? I'm so excited for you to really go deeper on this, journal, meditate, whatever it is that you find grounding and enlightening, and tag us in your decisions. Because when you are supported and held accountable, your goals, your vision, your achievements are 95% more likely to succeed, to actually happen. Now, it's lovely to have ideas in life. We all have them, especially some people who are really outgoing or have kind of 20 creative ideas all at once. Yet, it's the taking action part. So that's why I would love you to write them down, declare them, and then share them. This is a beautiful space to actually have your visions and your dreams shared. It's a safe space, and you're now telling the universe that you are ready for this both and integrated life. So with this work-life balance, take note of any gaps gaps that you want a bridge to fill. Where do you feel restricted or restrained? If you feel trapped or that you just want to improve on, it may be that you want to be home from work or shut the laptop at 5 p.m. and then that's tea time, meal time, game time. Is it something that's important to you for balance? You have a family night, a meal, games, a friends night, a cinema night, like a date with your partner. Dates are so important for relationships to keep both glasses full, and it's part of the integration. It's an integrated life. So what's really going to be super supportive for you, especially if you have a partner, a life partner, even a business partner, both and, is to do this separately, to jot down your notes. And you may want to listen to this podcast again to let it sink in, to see what else comes up, because repetition is how we learn best. And then have a meeting, set up a little life meeting, business meeting, whichever one it is, and then integrate it together so that you're on the same page. And this is where the fun starts, because we're very different. Us humans, we're very, very different. And how I like something, Steph might not. So this is where you get to meet in the middle and say both and. Solve those problems. There's solutions in anything when you take the time to stop, pause, and choose. Make better choices, have a better life. Strip it all back, simplify it, bring yourself back to the foundations, and this is key. The myth of work-life balance is getting taken away and thrown out the window, and you are now integrating this both and mentality for growth. So excited for you, and keep dreaming big. Thank you for listening to today's episode. We are so excited for you to declare your non-negotiables, your integrations in life, and just to have that freedom for that both and mentality. Ensure that you tag us and we'll hold you high. Keep having fun and stay awesome.